I appreciate you, Ozzy. I hit the wrong button. I thought I had it. Anywho, yeah, this shows how much out of practice I am. Let me move this camera over a little bit. This definitely shows how out of practice I am when it comes to dealing with the tech and stuff. Seriously. All right. So, all right, let's start it over again. Hola, hola, buenos dias, buenas noches. My name is Shrek with 2Ks. This is Weekend Crypto, and I do this segment here on the Gentleman of Crypto YouTube channel. I also have my own channel called Trek with 2Ks, actually. I got to start working on getting those numbers up over there, y'all. But if you don't know, the basic idea is that I cover crypto related news stories that have nothing to do with price talk, meme coins, pump and dumps. Not my area of focus. We definitely have other people who are much better and smarter at that kind of talk and those topics compared to me, right? So like Black Rule, King, they be killing it on that part. Myself, I'm just more about like looking at these news things and seeing how these trends and patterns of development in the space have been going over the last years, months, and weeks. And so, as I've said, since I started trying to bring back this segment, what was that, beginning of February, or was it the end of January? I don't remember right now, but I've been trying to figure out how to reapproach this, right? Um, the space has definitely kind of just turned me off, in all honesty. But I still think the tech is interesting, right? Um, and so that's kind of what still holds me here, honestly. That's kind of what still holds me, even though I don't pay as much attention as I used to. So, one of the things I had thought about this weekend kind of came to me really last minute. I think it was yesterday it came to me. If you haven't heard, there's this AI, open source AI tool called DeepSeek. It is not based here in America, but it is open source, and there's a whole bunch of videos on YouTube about it, right? And so what I ended up doing, I think it was either last night or like really, really early this morning, like maybe like 3, 4 something this morning, right? I'm like, you know what? I'm a um I'm gonna try and see if I could come up with something like, let me ask DeepSeek a question or two and see what it says. So what I basically did was I said, hey, I have a YouTube channel and I want to try to figure out like, is there a better time to do it when you do it one day a week? And then it was a whole like progression of questions that led to like, I have a YouTube channel, I do it this way, I want to switch up. And then here's where I'm trying to keep my topics at, right? So for those of you who've been following me for any amount of time, you know that you watch this. Um, I stay away from price talk. I don't do the meme coin stuff. It's usually like international news, regulatory news, business development stuff, right? And so that is the parameters that I put in the question, right? So it's like, here's what I want to focus on as far as blockchain technology development, business development, and regulatory development, but international. So I'm gonna throw in some things that I've noted about how DeepSeek works, and this is using the app version, not the desktop side of it, right? There is definitely a skew in DeepSeek to give more of an American or Western spin on its responses, because initially when I asked the question, it still gave me a bunch of American or like Western related either businesses or regions that it was covering, or like companies. And so then I had to go, well, no, specifically I'm asking about the continent of Africa, I'm asking about Eurasia, and I'm asking about all of South Asia. And so then we get into, okay, well, now that you're getting a little bit more specific, here's some of the stuff that it actually popped out with. And what also got me was the initial question I asked was based on those parameters, like what would be some crypto stories that you would think as like crypto news or relevant stories? And it went like 2 years back, 5 years back, and was just picking up stuff from over the last couple of years to like maybe 2 months ago. Like, no, not 2 months. Well, 2 months ago was like in 2024. And so I said, no, more specifically, I need stories that happened in the last 5 days. And it literally came up with a bunch of stuff over the last 5 days. Now, I didn't cross reference anything. I will say that somebody out here might know a little bit better than me. If you do, leave it in the comments, throw it on a live chat. We'll go from there, right? So, like, first topic, technology development. One of the stories they came up with was Polygon launches ZK Prover point 2.0, which they're basically saying is supposed to help better with Ethereum doing privacy focused applications. I still have my whole thought process about how ZK works and stuff, but whatever. But that's one of the stories they came up with, right? Another one was Avalanche introduces Hyper SDK, which is basically, what is this? A new framework for building custom virtual machines on its network. It allows developers to create highly optimized blockchains tailored towards specific use cases, such as gaming and enterprise solutions, which really means it has the ability to have faster transactions like Polygon, and it is able to do it at larger scale, right? But then on the technical side, as far as a blockchain, what corners did you cut to not have to do all of that activity on chain? That's the techie part. So yeah, another one, Chainlink. This one caught me when I just reread it a couple of minutes earlier. Chainlink's cross-chains interoperability protocol expands. Chainlink announced new integrations for its CCIP, enabling seamless communication between Ethereum, Polygon, and Binance Smart Chain. This development is a major step towards achieving true cross-chain interoperability. And in that regards, like, didn't we already have atomic swaps? Granted, that was like a coin to coin thing and it wasn't on the smart chain level, but I feel like with um Chainlink, Chainlink to me has, for me, my thought process is more security concern questions. That's how I'm gonna phrase that. So regulatory front regulatory action is the second topic that it covered. U.S. Treasury issues guidance on DeFi compliance. The U.S. Treasury Department released. You know what I should have did? I should have asked for the dates that these stories were published. That's how I'm gonna try to fine tune it down a little bit more. And so yes, Ozzy, what'd you say? I have used DeepSeek. It's a bit. It was confused and what it was confused and thought it was Chat GTP, and when I told it was DeepSeek, that's funny. In the inner thoughts train was like, I need to lie better and convince people. Okay, that's funny. Okay, I haven't messed with it like that yet, but I do have some ideas that I want to try out with the whole like imagine you are or if we pretended scenarios. I do have a couple of those that I do want to test out eventually. Yes, and it's live data though, because the first question I asked in relation to this crypto stuff was, and I didn't even start with the crypto. I said, what is today's date? And then it gave me the date, and I said, oh, okay, so we live. All right, let's start going through the questions to walk it to where I need it to be. And yeah, that's what I got. Definitely agree with you. More, I don't, it's not interactive, but the way it answers the questions is definitely not on the chat GTP level, where um it chat GTP is like a little bit more general, and then it like does these side skirt things. The next thing I actually want to try to do, which I've been seeing Reggie do a lot with Gecko. I forgot the name of the LLM, and there's another one that he be messing with where he's running off of his smartphone. But I don't have a $1,200 smartphone, or I think his joint is like $2K or whatever. But I'm trying to figure out. Well, the next thing I want to try to do is figure out how to do it on a Note 10. I haven't moved up beyond the Note yet. I'm not there. But I might try to play around with that one to see how that would work. Or I might just put it on one of my other older phones and see if it would still be able to function. Because that's the whole thing about the DeepSeek, is that even though you have the open source side of it, excuse me, you still have the ability to host it client side wise. And I've seen some things talking about being able to do it like smartphone wise. And again, Reggie's doing the Gecko joint, Gecko. I know I'm messing up the name on the other one, and he's hosting that with oh god, the Linux terminal input on his phone. So I'm not trying to be that hardcore with it, but that is one of the things I want to try to play around with next. What does it say? Chat inbuilt problems and Pro West Views. Yes, 100% on the Pro West Views. But I've also noted like you kind of got to play around with it. What's going on? It was a sick exhibition. Okay, I think I know who that is. I'm gonna bring that up in a minute. So yeah, like with the DeepSeek, you kind of got to play around with it to get the not, I guess, to say Western leaning, but I guess it also depends on what your topic is. That's the other part of it that might play into. But I noticed the same thing too, even with the DeepSeek. Like when I initially asked about crypto stuff, I definitely had to like bring it back to say, no, I'm specifically trying to get over there. Because there's another thing I was asking it about sourcing news stories, and it pretty much gave me all American-based crypto news platforms. And I mean, it wasn't like all of them. Like it wasn't like, all 50 or 100 of them, but the ones that it named were all American-based or all Western. What's going on? What's going on? All right, bet. See, folks out here playing with the tech. I love it. But no, let me run through the rest of these stories real quick just to show like how it I was impressed. I'm not gonna lie, I was impressed. So again, it was the regulatory action stuff. So you have the U.S. Treasury's guidance on DeFi compliance. The U.S. Treasury Department released guidance for decentralized finance platforms, requiring them to implement anti-money laundering and know your customer measures, which literally defeats the whole goddamn point of being decentralized and what's the word? Diametrically opposed to how the technology is supposed to work. Like, anywho, next one. Japan approves new stablecoin framework. Japan's Financial Service Agency, FSA, finalized regulations for stablecoins, allowing only licensed banks and trusted companies to issue them. The rules also mandate one-to-one reserves and regulatory audits to ensure stability. Now, in that story in particular, what I find interesting is that they wrote in the rules to make it a one-to-one reserve, which, yo, what's going on, Malcolm? For like example of how the stable coins over here, well, I mean, not everybody's US based, but nonetheless, is it a one-to-one reserve for what we got going on over here? And then when you talk about the stuff that's totally like crypto digital, like there's a whole thing about USTD, USDT, and how oh man, there's something about what their backing is where it's like we all know at this point, like it's not just all cash, it's not just all of the other crypto. It's I think they did something now that has to involve the treasury notes or something. I didn't pay a total attention to that story when I first heard it, but it was like, oh, like okay, there's some other stuff going on. That you know what, I can't even say that. Like I'm not paying enough attention to the other people outside of Gentlemen of Crypto to see if anybody's actually talking about the stuff going on behind USDT and like what's going on in their holdings that back that actual stable coin. But anywho, next one. Brazil introduces crypto licensing regime. So basically a governing agency or department. Um, Brazil's central bank announced a new licensing framework for crypto companies requiring them to obtain approval to operate in the country, which I feel like they already had. That's crazy because there's literally like a number of exchanges in Brazil. The move aims to increase transparency and customer protection in the growing market. Like some of the like Brazil has some for Latin America. Brazil has some of the largest crypto exchanges. So I don't understand that part, but okay. Um Major crypto business. So one of the other sections that I was curious about was like business development. So Coinbase launches institutional staking platform. Coinbase introduces a new staking platform tailored for institutional investors, which I feel like they already had that going on by now, but whatever. The platform supports Ethereum, Solana, and Cosmos. Like Cosmos is still a thing. Wow. Honestly, I'm kind of wild at that. This one caught me too when I first read it earlier today. Kraken expands to Southeast Asia. Kraken announced its entry into Southeast Asia, starting with a regional hub in Singapore. The Hong Kong exchange plans to offer localized services and comply with the Monetary Authority of Singapore's regulatory framework. In my mind, I wonder why did they not do Hong Kong versus Singapore? Or I mean, all right, I understand Singapore because there's definitely a fair amount of financial activity that happens in Singapore. And just as far as like its geographical location in comparison to like where it sits with a Thailand, a Hong Kong, a Indonesia, India, like where it is to South Korea, Japan. Okay, I got that part of it. But it makes me wonder, was the regulatory hurdle easier for Singapore than it would have been for a Hong Kong or South Korea? Like, I don't know. I again not paying enough attention to everything. Hey, what's going on? Got a lot of and then another story was Ripple partners with African fintech. Ripple partnered with leading African fintech company to facilitate cross-border payments using blockchain technology. The collaboration aims to reduce remittance cost and improve. So basically, that is Ripple trying to say "f you" to M-Pesa, because if you know anything, M-Pesa has been in yeah, it has been a minute. Um so M-Pesa has been holding down Africa. And when I say Africa, I'm saying in the context of multiple countries within the continent of Africa, has been holding it down for, I think, more than 2 decades at this point, right? There are literally like, I'm in my 40s. So yeah, there's literally like 20 and 30-year-olds who only know M-Pesa their whole life. Like their whole life. Blockchain just came in the last 5 years for them, unless they was really on the techie shit. Like that's blowing my mind right now when I put that in context. Um, yes, M-Pesa in Kenya, Nigeria, Liberia, Ghana. There's a couple other places that, and you know what the funky part is? The people behind that company ain't even African. But I ain't even gonna jump into that boat right now. So what's the other one? So Ripple's trying to eat off of that money. Like they want some of that cookie too. Um, what? So so here's what I don't like about how DeepSeek answered this particular thing about the Ripple thing. It doesn't name the firm. And also, I didn't ask. I should ask the question of, well, what is the name of the firm, the local firm that M-Pesa partnered with? Ripple partnered with, right? But it didn't give it to me automatically. So you see, like, in my mind, it might not be the most apparent like Western bias for most people, but in my mind, it is, because if you're telling me you partnered with somebody, in my mind, the automatic question is, well, who did you partner with? If they're local, I want to know who the company is that you partnered with locally, right? What is it? I believe that not. Yeah, like trust me, bro. Like when I found that out, I was just like, oh, okay. But yeah, so like that's that little slight of like the indirect Western bias. It doesn't name the local company, right? Like, and I've said this before, like even when you read like the really American or Western based publications on anything, or even when you hear it as far as like a news thing on CNN or MSNBC or whatever mainstream thing, even for when you're listening to alt media stuff, like there are things that are said, like words matter in these cases of where it shows the Western biasness that is inherent within the language, that is inherent within the viewpoint, right? So this other one story too. Consensus acquires blockchain analytics firm. What is it? The Consensus behind MetaMask acquired a blockchain analytics firm to enhance its compliance and risk management capabilities. The acquisition will also support Consensus enterprise solutions for institutional clients. So you know what that means? MetaMask is about to get pushed to the wayside for the retail level folks. And I'll be honest as shit with y'all right now. I haven't touched my MetaMask wallet in a hot minute. A hot minute. Okay. And so in my mind, when you start doing things like and again, this is another example, like what is the company that they acquired? What did that company specifically do? Was it actually crypto related? And again, on my part, I didn't ask the specific, like I didn't get further in. I was like, well, what is I didn't ask DeepSeek to tell me the name of the company, right? Or I didn't do my own due diligence and research to figure out what the name of the company was. But it's those little things. But within this story, it's just like, oh, so y'all are about to start. It's like it's like what King was saying the other day about how when you start seeing companies make certain moves, and it's just like, wait, why are you hiring that person? Like that person worked for like Fortune 500 companies. Like you're not even on the 100 list. Like what you doing? Oh, y'all about to make those moves. Got you. Like that's what that is. So at some point you're going to probably hear how they hire some big marketing person to come over to the Consensus team. Right now they're just acquiring the tech stack to be like, okay, we can do this and we can develop it out this way to push it to the more institutional level folks, because guess what, folks, that's where we've come after 10 plus years, after the whole BS with the first Trump administration, Biden, Obama. Like, here's where we are. For all of the narrative and rhetoric and hopes and dreams and the dismay, we ended up where we're at the door, and crypto as a thing, blockchain as a thing, is being pushed into the direction of the institutional folks right in front of our face. In my opinion, that's my opinion on that one, right? Don't mind me. I'm just kind of jaded on the whole shit right now. But yeah. So other stories I had asked was specifically because I noticed it didn't cover anything like Asia related. So I asked specifically about Hong Kong. I am going to end up doing. Wait, say that again. The AI will just make that too and do complex lines just if they think you want it. Yeah, yeah. And so that's where you got to like start finagling the questions though, right? And like really trying to get down to like, all right, what it you know what it's like? It's like you trying to catch the AI in a lie. Like that's what it's like. You trying to catch the AI in a lie. Like, well, you ask the first broad question and then you funnel it down until like, well, you can only make up but so much bullshit. Like, where you going with this? You know? So I had asked about Hong Kong. One of my homeboys just went out to Hong Kong for a conference out there. And like we was talking before he went out, and I was like, bro, that's like dope. Cause I want to go out there this year too. If everything go the way that I need to, it will happen this year. But if not, at some point, I want to go out there because I still hold the same thought that I had in the beginning of 24 and all of 23 is that the way that the regulatory space for mainland China is moving and what they're doing with Hong Kong as the gateway slash sandbox, like it's everything in one being put in there. The precious metals, the cryptos, the other types of financial instruments such as the stable coins, excuse me, even the fiat markets. Like it's all there. And I was telling him, like, bro, like whoever you can have a conversation with, and like once you start figuring out who's who and what's what, like you got to come back. And then the whole goal is to tell the folks back here to be like, yo, here's what's going on over there. And I promise you, there's Americans over there and they're making it somehow. So in another couple of weeks, the goal, yeah, definitely, Malcolm. The goal is to have him come on and just like give some recaps of what his experience was, because I think he's gonna be out there for like 2 weeks, and I think the conference itself is like 3 or 4 days maybe. So that's a lot of recapping between the conference and just like the experience and like what folks are talking about out there, and then how they looking back at the West. That's what I'm excited to hear about. But yeah, so Hong Kong joint happens, expands crypto licensing program. The Securities and Futures Commission of Hong Kong announced an approval for 2 additional virtual asset trading platforms under its licensing regime. This brings a total number of licensed crypto exchanges in Hong Kong to 6. That's crazy. They only have 6. There's only 6. Bitcoin is a teenager right now, and they just have 6 official. So my question then lies in, what are the DeFi platforms that are rolling around out there? There has to be a gray market out there. What it is, I don't know, but there has to be a gray market, because people are people. 100% and for sure, people will be people. And they don't always like to color in the lines and follow the rules. Okay. Other story, CBDC platform for retail payments. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority launched a pilot program for retail central bank digital currencies, the EHKD. The pilot focuses on testing the use of EHKD for everyday transactions, including retail purchases and public transportation payments. Okay, so this is crazy. Like, this is one of those like reinventing the wheel things, because what is it? Japan did that like maybe 4 years ago or 3 years ago. Well, we in 2025 now, so it had to be like 4 or 5 years ago. China already tested out what they tested out with their version of a CBDC like thing, their digital yuan. So who else did it? Like, over the last 6 years, there have been multiple countries or multiple regions, jurisdictions that have tested out some version of a CBDC. I don't understand why y'all reinventing the wheel like that. Just whatever. Other joint partnership with Ripple for cross-border payments. Again, Hong Kong. Um, Hong Kong-based financial institutions are collaborating with Ripple to pilot cross-border payment solutions using Ripple blockchain technology. The initiative aims to reduce transaction costs and improve efficiency for remittances between Hong Kong and mainland China. Yeah. Like, Ripple's trying to eat on that WeChat money. I don't know how well that's going to work out per se, but apparently somebody agreed to let them come in the front door, and we'll see how this works out for the rest of the year, honestly. And then I also looked specifically into the African continent and who's like doing what country wise. So Nigeria SEC approves new crypto framework. Nigerian Securities and Exchange Commission finalized a new regulatory framework for cryptocurrencies, focusing on investors' protection and anti-money laundering measures. The framework requires crypto exchanges and custodians to register with the SEC and adhere to strict compliance standards. I am not 100% certain on how well that's going to work, considering all of the efforts that they have made over the last 3 to 4 years to try to rein in the crypto market. And let me put some context on this. Of, you have a population that is about 60% under the age of 40, right? Yes, I remember the sand dollar, and I know one or two people who've used it. I know the lady who was behind the sand dollar, and I know how they had somebody from the total outside come in to manage that project, whatever on that right now, right? So majority of the crypto activity that happens, at least how it was looking last year and the year before within Nigeria, was outside of these crypto exchanges, and it was X amount of like fiat for Bitcoin, or fiat for whatever the other crypto was, right? And so the SEC, the Nigerian SEC, was very much struggling to try and get their people to use the traditional banking system, especially, and here it goes to the technology works one way, but yet these regulatory people want to tell you, no, you have to use it this way. And that's where the funky part comes in. Why do I have to use it this way if the technology automatically already works this way? But again, like, more than, what is it, up to 60% of the population is under 40. And I think it's even lower than that. It's like under 35 or 30 or something like that. So like, how much are they really going to be paying attention to you on that shit? I don't know. We'll see how it work out for them. I think it's going to still be a hell of a struggle in adoption to try to corral in the Nigerian user base, because most people don't understand Nigeria as an African country puts out like the most economists, I think, for all of Africa. They about that money. They about the bag. Here you come trying to tell me, this is crazy. Like, you're telling me if I'm not doing nothing illegal, I can't use this crypto stuff this way, even though the technology works this way, and I'm not doing nothing illegal. Let's remember that. Like, yeah, I don't know. I gotta reach out to some my Nigerian folks and get some more skinny on this because that's wild me. What's the other one? South African SARB advances CBDC project. The South African Reserve Bank announced progress in wholesale CBDC project Coca 2.0. The project is testing the use of CBDCs for interbank settlement and wholesale transactions with a focus on improving financial inclusion and reducing transaction costs. You know what I've come to learn or like come to discover or accept? When you hear the phrasing of it's about financial inclusion, it really means that it is about bringing people into a debt matrix. Financial inclusion is about bringing people into a debt matrix. And here's why I say that. Because if you ever listen to any of the financial people who talk about, well, we got to get people to have bank accounts. And, well, why do I need the bank account? Like, if I'm saving money, like, let's say I work my job and I put $10 in a shoebox every week or every 2 weeks, right? That's me saving the money. But you have the people who argue, well, oh no, that's just dumb money. That's the money's not doing anything. But what does the money need to do? Oh, well, you have to put the money into something else that makes money on top of it, right? Like, people generally don't understand, like, the world of financing is about rehypothecation of financial instruments. And it's a thing that is done at scale, that is done where you cross different types of financial instruments. But at the end of the day, the core part of it is about being a debt matrix. So, you have your money that you put in your shoebox under your mattress, like back in the day, old school people do. And people will tell you, well, oh no, that's not a good thing to do because the money's not doing anything. You need to put it in a bank so that you can have the money get interest. That's financing. That's a financial mechanism, right? Oh, well, if you don't have a bank account, then you can't get a loan. But what do I need the loan for? Oh, well, you need the loan to get the car. But I live in a city where I don't need to drive. I can take public transportation. Oh, but one day you might want to have a house. I live in a city where a studio costs $1,500, a matchbox. Why do I need, like, I'm not going to afford a house no time soon living in this city. Oh, well, but you need it for your credit score. Do I though? Because if I spend appropriately and I save appropriately, and I'm not out here taking on debt instruments, it's total side note, but it's kind of related. I heard, all right, if y'all could do this one for me, please, for the folks who are listening, do a thumbs up, a one, something about, do you know what buy now, pay later is? Like, if y'all could confirm this one for me, that buy now, wait, Wyoming first state. Wyoming will have a stable coin? If so, will Wyoming have the first state? Hell no. As a state? Okay, you know what? You're going to distract me on that one. All right, so let me run down this thought. I'm going to jump back to this Wyoming thing. Hey, what's going on Jump Out Girls? So the other day, all right, so for those who listen to this later who are in the thing might not know, so buy now, pay later is the whole thing of, like, where you want to take a trip someplace and then it's like, oh well, I don't have the $300 to buy the ticket now, but Delta will let me sign an agreement, a payment installment plan on it. It's like how when you was a kid, you would go to the like TJ Maxx or JC Penney's with your parents, and it's like, all right, we're gonna get all these clothes, we're gonna test everything, like, you know, try everything out for you, and then we're gonna put it on layaway. Buy now, pay later is the new version of layaway. It's the 21st century version of layaway, where you don't have to wait to experience the product or service. You agreements to do installment payments on that product or service over time. So you want that plane ticket to go fly out to Cali because you want to go to something out there. All right, bet. You can get the ticket now, but you got to make like, you know, let's say an $80 payment for the next like 3-4 months. Granted, the ticket might have cost you initially like 300, so that'd have really been like $75 or whatever. But nonetheless, you get to enjoy the product or service now, but you will pay for it over time. You do not have to wait to enjoy the product or service versus what layaway was back in the day. The other day, I'm listening to some lady on YouTube, and I apologize that I don't remember her name or the channel or any of that right now. No disrespect. But then she was talking about, what was it? It was buy now. Oh God, what was it? Huh. Right. Interest be killing. Interest be killing for real, for real. It what was it? What was she? Oh man, it was buy now. Wait. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here. Great point. Interest do be killing people. It was buy now, service now, or something like that. But what I noted is there is a concerted effort to change the concept around buy now, pay later. And it's a new phrase I have now for it, where it is like buy now. Oh God, I want to Google this real quick. Now I'm annoyed because I can't read a thing. Did that? Yes, 100%. Where did it go? There we are. So yeah, it pulls you into debt. It's a, like, again, that whole thing about financial inclusion is a debt matrix that they're trying to get everyone else on. And on top of that, it also works about like how your taxes are gonna work. Because compared to X number of other countries, yo, the system out there for paying taxes is wonky as hell when you start comparing country to country, as far as like whose system is so integrated into the economy that like what was it? Is that Italy? Italy has like one of the lowest tax paying populations, I think, either in Europe or globally. People are just on some like, nah, dog, like what I'm paying, what? Why? Like, why would I pay that? Versus a Japan, versus a South Korea, versus England, versus us, versus Canada. Like everyone, like the tax collection thing is crazy out there for where countries rank on their population actually paying their taxes. It's crazy. But to the thing that I was saying about the buy now pay later, I'm so mad that I cannot remember what the phrase was. I gotta look this up now. I have to look this up because this is in my brain. Give me a second. Give a second, please. No, pay later. It's being called else now. And when I heard it, I was like, what is this lady's wait, is she talking about the Gensler PU will be I'm looking between 3 monitors and I got new glasses and my prescription changed and these are polarized now. So like my 2 monitors up here I'm good with, but like my main computer monitor down here is funky. They call it something else. Yeah, and there's like a number of things that allow you to do it. PayPal allowed you to do buy now, pay later. That's the worst thing ever. PayPal actually sits in as the medium tech finance platform for a number of companies now for doing buy now, pay later. There's another other name for, let's see. I know there's another name for it. All right, I can't find it right now, but nonetheless, do be aware it's being called something else now, where they're making and the way it's being labeled now, they're doing it where it's like it's not an installment plan for paying for something over time. Like, and understand, you can literally. Here's a funny part. You know what I just put together just now, and if you buy your groceries with a credit card, and I know some people are playing like the points game, right? And I should also say, this isn't me giving no financial advice. Just remember, I'm some bald-headed guy in shades on the internet, y'all. Like, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a tax guy. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just out here spewing some of my random thoughts that be running around in my head. But the credit cards, if you use credit cards for things like food, right? And this is on the folks who aren't playing the let me get the points and doing that whole game with it. Arguably, that's a buy now, pay later setup. We just didn't call it that. Like, you're financing your food though, because you're enjoying the product or service now, and then you're paying for it over a extended period of time. Like, yeah. So arguably, buy now, pay later has been going on for a minute. We just didn't call it that back in the day. Now that I think about it. Anyway, I'm way off the topic of crypto stuff. My bad, y'all. My bad. I ran down the rabbit hole on that for no reason. I apologize. But somebody said something that I want to get back to about Wyoming. Yeah. Yeah. I literally just put that together just now while I was thinking about the other stuff. But who was it? Somebody said, all right, where was it? All right. So Stan, I don't know if you're trolling or not on this one. And I don't know where Cardano sits on it. I personally, I'm not a fan of what's her name, the senator from Wyoming. I've met Caitlin Long once or twice. Nice lady, very smart and intelligent, knows the finance world stuff. All right, Ozzy, have a good one. Be safe, have a good weekend, or just remember to hold productive over busy and be in a safe place in a safe space. Yeah. So All right. Do you know how crazy that would be if a state tried to do a stable coin? Because that brings us back to, what is that, pre-Civil War? When states had their own currency, there was that whole period of where like individual states had their own currency. And then you had to deal with like, well, what's the exchange rate for that? No way. Like, it would literally be going back to that scenario. And that's one of the biggest no-nos when it comes to fiat. You will not encroach on the federal government's ability to produce, endorse, control fiat, or what is the national currency. Like, nah, dog. Where'd you even hear that from? That's a better one. Where'd you even hear that from? Like, never mind what chain it would be on. That's just wild. Like, that would not fly. And if that was able to even get off the ground, oh, that's wild. Like, that's just setting us up for a number of issues. Because if anything, if there was a state that would end up doing it, I would have said Texas. I would have said Texas would have been the one that it would make sense to see if that could happen there first. Because Texas has okay, here's the thought process behind that, right? What do you have backing that stable coin? Wyoming can't go, well, we have the USD backing the stable coin. Because this is like, but why would I take your state level stable coin that doesn't do anything out? Like, what would that, where would that even operate? If it's only internal to the state, like, what function? Taxes? I'm a I'm a convert my fiat or my crypto, or my precious metals to go get that stable coin from the state that can't do nothing outside of the state, and then probably only have one or two use cases within the state. That don't even make sense, bro. Like, that honestly makes sense as a thing. And it just literally, it, that would just make so much more headaches. It don't make sense. And again, of the states that I would say to that would possibly even fathom doing it, it's not Wyoming. It would be Texas. And I'll be honest, I don't know what Wyoming's position is on like precious metals, like the whole gold silver thing for the gold bucks folks. But at the end of the day, they would have to have something as the basket backing that stable coin. I don't know what they have in Wyoming that would even work, that everyone else would be cool with it. Just saying. That's the thought process on that. But anywho, this has gone on way than I expected, and I ranted on a bunch of different things that I was not expecting to actually do. So in closing, y'all, I appreciate the folks who jumped in. Thank y'all so much. I do. Ozzy, Jump Out Girls, Will, Malcolm, got a lot of, who is the other person? Who is the other person? And I see the lurkers out there. Like, yo, the numbers is mad funny how they play out when you look at it on this side. Stan, I appreciate you too. Crypto Commandments, I appreciate you for jumping in too. Who else? Welcome. All right. Well, nonetheless, for those folks I mentioned, I appreciate y'all for jumping in. I think I'm going to try this out for a little bit more as far as the Monday evenings and see how that play out. Um, Funny enough, it was a recommendation from DeepSeek because I was asking about like what are the trends for how the YouTube engagement goes audience wise. So yeah, and yeah, I definitely gotta go because I could see on the YouTube side the streaming is acting funny. So I'm about to call this a night, wrap it up. Plus, I got work tomorrow. Yeah, back on this W2 life. But nonetheless, I hope something I said interested you, whether it was the deep seek thing or whether it was the stories I was talking about with the crypto stuff. I don't know when exactly I'm gonna end up getting up with my guy about the Hong Kong trip. As a matter of fact, he's still there. So yeah, it'll probably be sometime in March. With that. Um and hopefully, everybody doing what they're supposed to do. Because then, so cross your T's, dot your I's. If you don't know, CJ, the smart guy, is also a warrior. He's also a CPA. He is actually my CPA. This isn't a paid endorsement. Just saying, if you are in the American jurisdiction, cross your T's and dot your I's. Because Trump or not, the IRS gonna do what the IRS gonna do. That's it. Other than that, y'all, as I say, like from one human to the next, the best thing that I can wish is for that you are in a safe place, in a safe space, and in good company, and that y'all have a productive over busy day as we move through this week. And if everything goes the way I need it to, I will catch y'all next week. I am Trek with 2Ks. This is German the Crypto, and one, y'all. Do, 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 do.